Hello and welcome to Road to Statehouse. This is an ongoing program on which we take on board political parties vying for Statehouse, which is the coveted prize in 2021. As we speak, there are 14 registered parties, and from what I gather from the grapevine, there are 3 more to come. Amazing number. 17 political parties, all on the racetrack, running helter-skelter to reach State House first. My guest in the second edition of this program is the Honorable Hussein Dabo, the Secretary General and leader of the United Democratic Party. Honorable, welcome to Road to State House.
Thank you.
Like I said in the preamble, there are 17 political parties vying for the presidency come 2021. But let us rewind and go back to the days of the new dispensation back on the 1st of December 2016. What is your take as we speak right now on the coming into being of Coalition 2016?
Well, as you know, Coalition 2016 was formed when I was in jail. So I actually did not participate personally in it, but my party did. We are well represented, and we made our views known on all the issues affecting the formation of Coalition 2016. Coalition 2016 was certainly an instrument, or if you like to call it a vehicle, which the parties thought could be used to put up a formidable opposition to President Jammeh, which formidable opposition would lead to his defeat at the 2016 polls. That was, in essence, Coalition 2016.
And in fact, it did achieve its goal.
It did achieve its objective, and that one it did achieve its objective.
Unlike way back in 2005 when the NAD was formed.
Well, yes, unlike 2005 when NAD was formed, certainly there was no agreement as to a common candidate, and that led to the fragmentation of NAD. And I probably think that in 2016, NAD was the template that should have been used, really. And I believe it was used, the instrument, the agreement, if that was used in 2016, probably it would have gone beyond 2016. The coalition would have gone beyond 2016. It would have not only been limited to the presidential elections, it would affect all other elections, all other subsequent elections.
Would you have subscribed to Coalition 2016 if you were around?
I have never shied away from the formation of any coalition. I have, in fact, been one of the persons. I do not engage in self-adulation, because I detest it. Let others speak for me. But I think I have really shown commitment, shown leadership in the formation of coalitions in this country. Although none came to fruition, and I would have been in the forefront of really in the formation of the coalition 2016. Till in November 2014, I convened a meeting of all political parties to look at the electoral laws and come up with suggestions as to what reforms should be done. And I said, look, we should do this earlier because we do not want what happened in 2011 to happen, for the government and I is to say, well, these things are coming too late. So we should now do it so that there would be no excuse for not effecting any reform in 2016. And I did say, and let me say that all the parties, my great light, responded very positively. We got together, and the no government, and I said, look, this could be the nucleus of, the coalition for 2016. That was some prophetic, although unintentional, but I said this could be the nucleus, because if we agree on the various areas of electoral reforms, we are getting closer. So we could get closer when it comes to the formation of a coalition to fight the then incumbent.
Would it have been different if any other political party representative at the Congress been chosen other than the de facto Adama Barrow?
Well, I wouldn't.
Looking at the fact that you were the biggest party.
I wouldn't. I wouldn't think. That would have happened because the UDP went to that coalition convention. I believe UDP went to that coalition convention fully committed to the ideas of the coalition, had fully subscribed to it, brought delegates, and we are not people that pull out last minute. We don't do that unless something sinister, something untoward, something horribly unacceptable happens. Of course, we will not accept anything sinister, anything that horribly unacceptable, unorthodox. We cannot accept that on principle.
Did something go wrong when you decided to go solo in the 2017 National Assembly elections?
I don't think anything went wrong because contrary to the misleading information that is peddled in both the social and conventional media, that there was an agreement to contest the National Assembly elections as a coalition. That was absolutely false. It's misleading. And I think those people who are meddling this should really be honest to themselves and speak the truth to the Gambian people and speak to the truth to the Gambian people. There was never an agreement that National Assembly elections would be held on the basis of independence in a coalition. That is why in my earlier statement I said, look, if the NAT template was used, it was there. If it was used, there would have been no issue whether parties would fill in candidates on their political platforms or not. There was never such agreement, and I challenge those people engaged in this false information, disseminating this false information, to produce any document showing that there was any such agreement, that this was even remotely discussed. Never did happen. And I tell Mr. Jones, those peddling this false information and think that they can make political capital of it, in their disingenuity, in May last year, when there was a meeting to review the coalition agreement, very disingenuous with dishonesty, the burden in dishonesty, tried to put in the document that National Assembly elections was to be conducted on an independent platform. And the objection was that Madam Fatma Tambajan, the chairman, said, look, this was never part of this, and so it should be removed. But the people who are engaged in this thing, they thought that they could slip this in, and then the Gambian people will say, oh yes, you see, this is what was agreed on. Again, which was really false. And I think as leaders, if we want to earn the respect of Gambian people, we want history to judge us rightly, we should be very honest in what we say, however distasteful that may be to our own positions. If you cannot defend your position, do not malign other positions falsely. The whole basis, the way I saw it, the whole basis of having, whether you call it a coalition or not, is to have a solo candidate supported by all the political parties. Whether you go on independent, you're going to have a solo candidate. on party platform, you're going to have a solo candidate. And what was the rationale for it? You want to control. If you are executive, if you control the executive, you also want to make sure that those who fought the presidential elections also would control the National Assembly. That was the raison d'etre. And could you achieve that if in Barrow only one candidate is put up there, supported by all other political parties? Could you achieve that or not? I think if you could achieve that, what would be the raison for saying that political parties should not put up candidates? I do not see the rationality of it. After all, the whole essence of really having this transition government is to ensure that political parties are able to operate, in very meaningful way, easily. And where could a political party, what could be a better transformation than starting from the National Assembly? I do not see any. And I don't know whether some of these people had actually adverted their minds to what would have happened if it was all independence. The National Assembly Authority would have been in the hands of the UDP and the PRC. Because the minority leader and the majority leader would come from parties, not from independents. We had a typical example of it. There was a time, I think we had 5 independents in the National Assembly with Honorable Samba Jallo only representing the party, and he was the minority leader. With the 5 independents, without a political home, could not assume that function. None of them could assume that function. So they did not advert their minds.
That's an opposition bloc in the National Assembly.
That's right. They did not advert their minds. If they did advert their minds to it, maybe they wanted to get involved in an experiment that would have been a great fiasco for us. And I think those people should now stop misleading the government people and say the truth. Never at any time was it discussed that National Assembly elections should be conducted on an independent platform. I challenge those who go on peddling this false information to come forward with any iota of evidence that this was discussed in December of 2016 or any time before December 2016. If there was such agreement, why would there be a need to sit and discuss the issue again?
You assumed the portfolio of Minister of Foreign Affairs and later became Vice President. Which was more important to you?
Well, each of them was very important to me, because for me, the President showed confidence in me in handling any particular position. So all of them were equally important to me.
Something went wrong later on in your career in the new dispensation as Vice President. Let me put it bluntly, you fell apart with the President and thereby, shall I say, he removed you as Vice President. Was there any problem per se that caused this friction between you and the President?
Well, certainly there was no problem as far as the running of government is concerned, and I think that would have been the most serious issue. There has been no problem about my commitment to my service to the nations. There has been no doubt about my loyalty to the Gambia, and of course my loyalty to President Adama Barrow as President of the Republic of the Gambia. And still, as a citizen, I owe that loyalty to him. But of course, I am, and I've made that quite clear at a rally in Sukuta, that no one should be under the mistaken belief that there's another president in this country other than President Adama Barrow. No one should be under that mistaken belief. And I equally said that, and nobody should be under the mistaken belief that other than Usainu Dabo, there is another leader of the United Democratic Party until at such time that Congress removes me. I am leader of the United Democratic Party, and anyone who is a member of the United Democratic Party would have to accept that fact. And that the only time that you can dispute that fact is when I am, by Congress, removed as leader of the United Democratic Party. And the short answer to your question is, President Barrow wanted to impose himself as leader of the United Democratic Party. I said, no, you have to go through the normal process. He wants the United Democratic Party to endorse him as the presidential candidate. No, that's not correct. In the first place, you are an independent. You have resigned from the United Democratic Party, so you cannot. So, I mean, the short answer to it is that he wants to hijack the party, and I will not let him hijack the party. And I've told, and I have said at the Congress, I have said, look, anyone who attempts to bring any division between the United Democratic Party, I'll take you head on. I couldn't care what your position. I made that public announcement. Public pronouncement. So that is the reason, the only reason is that's why he wants to hijack the United Democratic Party. He said, no, you are not going to hijack the United Democratic Party. If you want to be leader of the United Democratic Party, it has to be through the normal and orthodox method. You don't come and impose yourself on us. I have never imposed myself on the party, so nobody will impose himself on the party. His presidency will not be a license for him to hijack the party. We resisted it, and we have prevailed. We will not allow that, and nobody, will really attempt to do it. I, will not at any time try to impose myself on the UDP. If they don't want me as leader, thank you. I have had a great honor, great privilege of leading a party in the Gambia called United Democratic Party, the party that has stood for the Gambian people, by the Gambian people, and for the Gambian people.
Did that move supposedly transition that the president wanted to do, in other words, to impose himself upon the hierarchy of the UDP, did it brew any discord between you and him?
Well, naturally, as far as the operations and the management of the United Democratic Party is concerned, we are not on the same level. We are different level. We have different thinking capacities, different thinking gaps. So, contrary to what people are thinking, that UDP was a UDP government. In fact, it wasn't a UDP government. Yeah? It wasn't a UDP government. So, I mean, certainly, we could not, tolerate that, and we will not allow. I mean, in fact, we started calling up meetings at Statehouse, called traditional chiefs, address them, and you cannot convene a meeting of chiefs without the Minister for Local Government. And Lamin Diba was the Minister for Local Government. He was not invited. I wasn't invited, but other ministers were invited, ministers who, I mean, we are there to support his presidency. We would not, quite frankly, maybe if I had done things in the right way, we would have got the support of UDP, but to say that I am the president, anybody who wants to contest as a presidential candidate from the ranks of the UDP, that tantamount to a coup d'etat. We could not accept that from anybody. I mean, if you are overwhelmed by the grandeur of your office, UDP is not the party that you try that with. Nobody.
You have seen events unfold in the Gambia. There have been pitfalls here and there for the president vis-a-vis the sacking of a nominated National Assembly member who belonged to your party, Yakumba Jaite. It went to the courts, and subsequently the Constitutional Court, which is the Supreme Court of the country, reinstated Yakumba. Did you see that as a flaw in the president's understanding of his role?
I'm sorry, his understanding of?
Misunderstanding of his role.
Of his role.
Yes.
Well, I don't know whether he took. I don't know whether he took decision on his own, or whether he was advised. Whatever, goes down to his role. And I don't think it was right. I think it was great misunderstanding. Let me say, the day Yakumba was dismissed, I think that was the last time I had at least a 5 to 10 minutes conversation with the president before I was removed from cabinet. Because he called me and said, look, you know what is happening in the National Assembly. I said, well, I read it in the social media. Yeah, that something is happening, that members of the National Assembly have taken certain positions with respect to the sacking of Yakumba. And they said, well, that this UDP guy. I said, no, it's not UDP NAMS, it's the National Assembly members. And I told him that Honorable Samba Jallo is part of it. And I think that shocked him. You know, and I said, well, he thinks that say certain things which are not, which I don't think I should say here. That you know, so I think I should get rid of him. Said, Mr. President, you don't have the power to do so. The Constitution does not give you the power. You cannot do. You cannot do. You are wrong. And he argued. He said, well, I appointed. I have the power to appoint. Why can't I have the power to dismiss? I said, but look, Mr. President, the power to nominate is donated to you by the Constitution. But the power to dismiss is not donated to you by the Constitution. So you cannot. You know? And he was not happy. I said, but so that's what you said? I said, yes, that's what I said. That's what I think. And I think that is what is right. You know? And of course, when the Supreme Court refused the injunction, I thought he said, well, that emboldened, said, well, I think, you know, I am right. And then I said, so look, you know, maybe I cannot just work with Mr. Dabo. And I thought really, if it was not a fight against UDP, I think he would just have removed me from cabinet. The other UDP members could have remained in the cabinet. Mr. Sani and Mr. Diba, they could have remained in the cabinet. But he said, no, this is a fight against UDP, so I will not have any of these UDP people here, you know, but not really appreciating, you know, my largesse. You know, I will not do that. So got rid of all of us, and thank God, it afforded me an opportunity, a great opportunity to work for my party. When I was vice president, I had constraints. You know, couldn't do things that I want to do for my party. When I was foreign minister, I was traveling too much. I didn't have much time to my party. But when I was removed, oh my God, you know, just look, you know, that it took up several burden from my shoulders. And now concentrating on my party. And alhamdulillah, I think I'm seeing the fruits of that.
I will come to the strengths of your party later on as you vie for the presidency, because you're a key stakeholder in elections in this country and of course for the presidency. But let me still look at some of the games that have been played out and how they were played out. Looks like members of the United Democratic Party in Parliament have been enticed to switch their allegiance, as we saw. I think 7 of your party members switched their allegiance.
They didn't switch their allegiance, but we expelled them.
You expelled them?
We expelled them. And as I said, I saw some in the professors that UDP now defected. They never defected. We expelled them. We saw that they were misbehaving politically, and we couldn't contain that. So we expelled them. And we took the right decision. You cannot have cancerous, you know, parts, you know, and not cutting them off. Otherwise, it will eat into the body, and then that leads to your destruction.
So what do we have with those members in the National Assembly? Don't they carry your tag?
They don't, no longer. They're no longer
just members of the National Assembly.
They're members of the National Assembly. They are not UDP.
I'll take you to a very contentious issue, the issue of 3 years Jotna. How do you view this uprising?
I believe the 3-year Jotna movement, I guess they call themselves people who had voted for the president, President Barrow, on the basis of certain promises, and they were looking to having those promises fulfilled. There were electoral campaign promises there where they are looking forward to it being fulfilled. And the Constitution does provide that the President is elected for a term of 5 years. Of course, although it doesn't say that the President has to serve compulsorily for 5 years, so there are rooms or avenues for relinquishing office, for any of the events that is stipulated in the Constitution, and it is one of those stipulated conditions that the 3 years ordinary people were asking the President to honor his campaign promises, and of course beyond that, I don't see anything that they were doing that was untoward, and I'm a strong believer in the Constitution. I'm a strong believer in upholding the principles of the Constitution. But then if people also do things that is not contrary to the Constitution, I don't think there's any controversy about that, or there should be any controversy about that.
Did you at any one time subscribe to something contrary to that, as some people believe?
I have my loyal knowledge that the President was elected for 5 years, and that is his constitutional mandate, and it will be wrong for anybody to force him, and I be very, very careful with my words, to force him to resign, to really go out of office, because that would be contrary to the Constitution if you force him, and of course I also did say that, look, those people who are saying that there was disagreement, let them produce the agreement, let us have it, and then we'll test it against the Constitution. These were exactly my words, and I spoke like a lawyer, and there is no one on the surface of this earth who can say that I took a wrong position or I advocated for a wrong position. And of course, that does not mean that others who are equally advocating for a position provided for by the constitutions are wrong. But I said produce the Constitution, produce the agreement, and we'll test it against the Constitution. Because for me, any agreement, in fact, I remember when I said that, I think one honorable member, I think Honorable Swaibu, who said that is a contract which is enforceable in court. But I didn't respond to him because, I do not, because then I started thinking, well, law of contract, Constitution, and so forth, but I didn't respond to him. But this is the position I took, and I don't think my position was wrong.
Let me take you to what I see as some defections. Your party has been going through some people defecting. People like Dahaba, the chairman of your party in Nyani, somewhere. There are other people, I don't want to name names, but your party has gone through some people defecting to the National People's Party, if that is the president's party, the NPP.
Well, yes.
Are you shocked by that?
No, I'm not shocked, because it's something that you do not expect that shocks you. You see, like you said, I do not want to name names, but I have also known that some of these things clandestinely what they were doing, and Dahaba in particular had engaged through his cousin. His brothers are abroad. They are very mad at him, very, very mad at him, and of course. I think, maybe the reasons he gives, he has not told me, but what I hear, I think he was really non-starter. That you want to be regional chairman, you are not elected regional chairman because Mr. A and Mr. Y ganged up against you. If that's a reason for leaving the party, then your commitment to the party must be questionable. But for us, it doesn't matter. We expect that. How many people have you seen coming over to UDP? And we have this publicized. People of standing in their communities, yeah, who have discovered the values of UDP and have decided to join United Democratic Party. So yes, Daba, I mean, for me, it's not so a surprise to me. I expected it. I expected long ago. In fact, I expected it when I was foreign minister. I had been on one of my travels, and there are meetings at Statehouse, and I knew everything that was going on there. So it was not a surprise to me. But the question is, how is Dahaba defection affecting the UDP in Same? That's the question. I think that's the question.
As we prepare, it's a long way still, but then there's nothing that is far away. We're looking towards December 2021. What are the strengths of the United Democratic Party vying for the presidency?
Well, we do not want to take anything for granted. I'll tell you what we believe, or what I and my executive, what we believe, is that all the parties are ahead of us. And we are lagging behind, and we are fighting, working very hard to overtake them.
Honestly?
Honestly.
That they're all ahead of you?
Honestly, that is what we say.
Oh, that's psychological.
That is what you say, that all the parties are ahead of us. And we have to make sure that we come from behind. Like my team used to do, Manchester United. He always come behind and defeat and beat, you know.
How come me and you say the same thing? We've been struggling.
I know, we're terribly struggling, you know. I hope United Democrats would of course not struggle that way. But we want to come from behind and overtake them. So, because we don't want to assume anything. We don't want to be complacent. We want to make sure that, you know, we keep the fire burning. That's what we want to make sure of. Yeah. So we don't want to say that, well, UDP were assured of victory. No. Until the last result is announced from the last polling station. Yeah.
You are a broad-based party, and I think you cover the entire country in your setup. How strong are you at the grassroots level?
Well, I think we are reasonably strong, and that is why those names we expelled, that is why they're having difficult in their constituencies. I can tell you, I don't think any of them is going to contest the next elections because of our strength at the grassroots level. UDP has always maintained its strength at the grassroots level. We had always maintained contacts at the grassroots level. When in the past few weeks, we had the youth wing on a countrywide tour, and when they returned to barely 4 or 5 days after, the campaign team also went throughout the country. The only region they couldn't visit was URR because the president was there. The police thought that it will not be wise, you know, it will be contrary to wisdom if you issue a permit to UDP to hold rallies, you know, in the same region where the president was, you know. That was a wise decision. But currently, the women's wing is also out. So our contacts with grassroots, you know, is constant. And I believe when the women's wing return, maybe I will also go out, you know, on a countrywide tour. And in the meantime, I am on community outreach. Community outreach is, you know, in various parts of the country. You know, today it could be Brufut. The other day it could be Kanuma in Nyumi. So that's how we are operating.
There is an adage that says, he who has strength must have weaknesses as well. What is the weaknesses confronting the UDP?
Well,
is it the label given to you that you are a Mandinka party?
Well, that's not a weakness. For us, in fact, for us, that's a strength.
Based on what?
That's a strength.
Based on what?
Based on the ignorance of the people who say we are Mandinka party.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's a strength for us. And let them continue labeling UDP as a Mandinka party and not looking at the policies and programs of UDP and taking fault with them. I mean, demolish them, show that they are utter nonsense. Yeah, as long as they continue doing that, because the sensible people in this country know that UDP is not a Mandinka party, and of course, if it is leadership that say because of that this is a Mandinka party, then maybe GAF will also be considered as a Mandinka party because Bakar Dabo. GMC, because that's a Mandinka party, that's my party. Yes. So let them just continue labeling UDP as a Mandinka party without addressing the factual and policy issues that UDP raises. Let them debate us on that.
You have gone through the draft constitution. What is there that you don't like?
Well, I'll tell you this. I have, well, not me, but the party
Have reservations.
has reservations, and we have expressed that. I mean, like when the disqualification for presidency, that if you are convicted on an offense that carries, and the punishment for which carries 3 years, even though you might not even be
within the category.
you might not even be sentenced to serve 3 years. But as long as the law says you can be convicted, if you are convicted, you can be sentenced to a term of 10 years. You know, that is sufficient. And I will take objection to that. That look, political offenses. Why would you disqualify anyone convicted? I was convicted for a political offense. And thanks to God, my conviction brought liberty to this country. I say that with great pride. Because it galvanized the Gambian people to vote out Jammeh. Yeah. And of course, how would anyone in that era, a kangaroo court, convicted someone for demonstration? You could disqualify such a person to contest an election. That is, I mean, it's never heard of in any country. Otherwise, Obasanjo wouldn't have been president of Nigeria. He was convicted of treason. Otherwise, Shirodiba would not have contested elections in 1982 because he was convicted. Because although he was not, but he was convicted of treason charges. Right. You know? So political offenses, sedition, demonstration, all those things, has never been a disqualifying factor in any constitution, and I do not know why it is put in the Gambian constitution. We have raised reservation about it, and I hope that they remove it, because if they don't, UDP will campaign against it. Oh yes, integrity is what matters for political office. If you are convicted of fraud, however, I mean, minute your fraudulent activities is, then that could be a reason. Because you are holding a high office where integrity matters, not where your struggle against a dictator could be used against you. After all, it is on account of the distorment of the dictators, the dislodgement of the dictatorship that has given opportunity to the Gambian people to look for ways of crafting a new constitution.
If it stays in the constitution, the UDP will
certainly campaign against it.
If it sticks in the constitution and it goes to the referendum,
it will not pass.
We're making ifs here.
Don't bother to, because it will not be endorsed. UDP will vote against it. We will ask everybody. In fact, even if it goes to National Assembly, it will not pass the National Assembly, because our NANS will vote against it. In fact, we will delete it. We will delete that provision. No, I mean, look,
we have to.
Secularity,
does it bother you?
You see, I think this was an issue that I didn't think, was really necessary. I mean, how long have we lived in this country?
Side by side.
So many years, centuries, centuries. I mean, I think this should not really be an issue that should divide us. I mean, there are other issues, more germane that we should all be arguing about rather than this. Muslims and Christians in this country have lived together, and as some people have said, people have their relations, in both sides. I was surprised one day. I went to a Gamo in Havdai at the Imam Ba's place, and Ambassador Blaine, told me that he was related to that family, and he's a staunch Catholic. So I hope that we Gambians will really continue to nurture the homogeneous and harmonious relationship that we have been enjoying for several decades, if not centuries. I hope so.
What would you like to tell your militants as we march or as we run the race towards State House?
Well, I tell my militants that we should not be complacent. We should be aggressive in our recruitment drive to membership of the party, while being polite also. You can be aggressive without being impolite. This is what I ask all my militants. And we have young men who are really engaging, and I urge them to continue to be engaging. I ask our diaspora chapters to get better united, and that their commitment, which we have always appreciated, be doubled. Doesn't mean that they are not doing anything, but we want them to really double, and because they have a crucial role to play in these elections. Whether they are given the franchise or not, they still have crucial role to play, as they did in 2016. And I believe that they will do so pro patria.
My last question, sir. The next government, who forms the next government?
Well, I don't know who forms the next government, but I know.
Shall I rephrase?
And I know, I want UDP to form the next government.
Will we see a UDP-led government? Let me say it that way.
That is what we have been working on.
Will we see that?
And again, that is what we have been working on, and I think really, as I said, when you come from behind and overtake the rest of the parties, you will see a UDP government here.
Honorable Usainu Dabo, it's been a pleasure to have you on this interview. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
That was the Honorable Usainu Dabo, the Secretary General of and leader, of course, of the United Democratic Party. He was talking to me, Malik Jones, on Road to State House. Thank you for watching, and bye-bye.